So you were saying that you were doing wrong in a relationship, um,
Yes.
and then you were just, trying to find the perfect partner.
Yeah.
Do you think like people go in a relationship just to be with someone? Because I think right now what people are doing is they're rushing to be in a relationship.
People are, so that's a good point, right? People, a lot of people are in a hurry to be with someone. So what I would say is naturally we all have this connection that we want to fulfill, right? With people. A lot of us want that. But the problem is there's a lot of unhealed people that are not healing, and they're using other people to fix their healing, because when you need to heal, there's a job that you need to do for yourself. There's a certain amount of validation that you need. There's a certain amount of love that you need and happiness that needs to be generated on your own. And what people are doing is, because they're not sitting with their pain and figuring out how to get through it, what they're doing is they're finding other people to fill it for them, and they're giving other people a job. So even though they call it love and they call it affection, sometimes those words are being manipulated for what they really are. I feel a gap because I didn't get love growing up. Or I feel like when someone broke up with me, it challenged my value and my self-worth. So now I look for that in other people. So that's why I think they rush, because they want to hurry up and get rid of that feeling. Because when they don't have someone, then the feeling comes out, right? The void of, you don't have someone to make you feel valid right now. How are you going to challenge this feeling on your own? So that's when they can't sit with it. They get anxiety and they're like, I got to find someone. And they quickly look for someone to fill that. So that's when it's being misused, right?
Then
That's
it
when relationships aren't being used properly.
then it validations for themselves because they feel they're not loved, and t- they're looking for love in someone else rather than
Yes.
loving themselves first.
Yeah, exactly. Because then they don't even value the love that they're receiving, because they don't
Hmm.
know what value looks like inside them. So you have to know what value you carry before you can understand how someone could love you. Because if you don't think you have much value and someone loves you a lot, how are you going to value their love for you?
Yeah, because if you don't value yourself, you don't love yourself, don't expect anyone else to love you. As a matter of fact, respect you, because I think before love, respect comes in. Because I feel like love fades away. There are some days there won't be love in a relationship,
That's
but
a good point.
if there's not a respect, it's that relationship is done.
Yeah, I agree. Because respect shows that you're willing to stand under the authority, right? So like let's say if I'm trying to talk to you about something and it's something about what I'm feeling. Respect says you're going to listen to me and entertain the thought before you start attacking me or before you start addressing it. When you attack me, before you listen to my feeling or before you think about what I've just said, then that means you're not showing me respect, because you're not taking into consideration that what I'm saying is important enough for you to consider. So respect has to come before you can really start to love someone, because that's a part of how you show value to that person, right? I value you a lot. So if what you say to me is real, then I need to sit down and think about this. I can't just go, oh, let me attack you. I have to actually consider what you're saying. I need to process it and see if there's anything I can do or if there's any way I can talk this through with you. Respect gives you that space to solve problems, to solve issues, and to work through these mountains in relationships.
You've talked a lot about narcissistic behavior in a relationship.
Absolutely. Yes.
Where does this behavior starts? Is let's say if someone is in a relationship, what are some of the key factors? You get to know that that person is being narcissistic, because I feel like in the beginning of the relationship you may not see, but as the relationship proceeds, that behavior is like outgrows that person. and it just like out there, and it's hard for a person who's dealing with those issues for them to get out of the relationship.
Yeah. So narcissistic personality disorder is a diagnosable disorder, right? And it often starts at a very young age when a child is overvalidated, right? So sometimes this can happen if you don't tell your child about the reality of what they're doing, right? You're trying to help them avoid disappointment. So, what you could potentially do is say, oh, well, I want to reward you. I want to make you feel good. I don't want to make you feel like anything's wrong with what you're doing. But sometimes the child needs to know that this is wrong, right? This is bad. But we try to protect them from those emotions because we don't want them to feel those things. But what could happen is a child develops an unrealistic idea of what good and bad will look like. And then it's over validated. So then they can't process bad very well. So what they do is they try to overcompensate by avoiding it, by saying, oh no, this is not bad. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. No, you're bad. It starts to become a deflection as they progress. Now, not everybody has narcissistic personality disorder, but people do exhibit narcissistic characteristics when they start to act this way, because this response can come from people who are insecure, from people who are prideful, from people who are egotistical. They start to exhibit these similar characteristics. So it's normally someone, so I guess some points to look at is someone who's not okay with taking accountability. That's one
Hmm.
of the number one ways to know you have someone who's exhibiting narcissistic behaviors. They're terrible with accountability. And what they'll do, if you try to tell them, hey, can you own up to where you're wrong? They'll either say, no, I don't want to talk about it, or you don't know what you're saying, or they'll gaslight you and they'll say, it never happened. They'll do anything possible to avoid the feeling of accountability because it feels bad. And they'll do anything to get out of that, but yet they want to keep you. So it's weird because it's like, I want you to be in this relationship on my terms. And that's why some people feel like they're being controlled. They feel like they're being manipulated. They feel like they're being brainwashed because they're doing whatever possible to convince you that they're in the right. And sometimes, if you love this person, it can get even worse because now they have a certain level of access to your psyche. So if they can make you feel a certain way and combine that with telling you things that are not true, it's almost like hypnosis. Like now they're hypnotizing you into believing that your reality is questionable. So that's how you'll know.
That's like deep rooted. That's kind of toxic also.
Kind of.
Like
That's real toxic.
especially when you said that when you love someone and that person is being narcissistic, it's really hard to get out of that relationship. I can only imagine how it feels for the person who, in being in that relationship. Must be like really hard because I feel like when you're in a relationship, it shouldn't be stressful. Um, it should be the most relaxed feeling ever, because when you love someone, it's about giving out to each other. Making sure you both are protected in a relationship. And the fact that some people, I think, they don't feel protected in relationship.
So I can agree with that because no, like you're so right. And people have a hard time providing the other person a safe space because in order for me to provide you that safe space, I have to be willing to take whatever you have going on and prioritize it over what I have in that moment. But the reality is, if, like I said, if I'm not healed, and you bring up something that I haven't healed past, it's going to be very difficult for me to try to figure out how to help you. Because if I sit there and it's a triggering topic for me, and I feel like I'm even, so for example, you'll see this when sometimes you talk about a topic about someone else and another person gets hurt from it. Right? Like you'll say, oh, this person can't communicate. All they do is insult me, and then the other person goes like, well, sometimes that's what has to happen. And then it's like, well, I wasn't even talking about you. But that shows you that they're struggling with the same pain as this person. So they can't help you feel safe. And then that causes the person to feel like you're not giving me what I need. And it turns into like this fight, right? Because we need to have the emotional, I guess, strength to say, I can give you a space and put myself and my needs aside to give you that security and not make you feel judged or make you feel attacked, but instead make you feel heard without using my own ideas of what's going on. I just need to give you that individually. And a lot of people can't do that.
Some of these things that I'm hearing, I was like, shit, this is really happens in a relationship because one person is not healed properly
Mhm.
from whatever traumas or bad things they've been through in their past.
Yeah. And there's so many different kinds of traumas. Like in the DSM, which is the book of diagnoses that like psychologists use, if you look through it, there's so many pages. People can get traumatized from all kinds of things. Some people can see something outside. They could be watching a show or a newscast. Things, people are getting traumatized all the time in smaller ways to bigger ways. So we must always be challenging ourselves to figure out how to cope better. That's when
Mm,
we develop coping mechanisms, because that's what helps you get through managing this emotion without acting erratic. Because when you don't have a handle on it, that's normally when you see people start to act and lash out because they don't know how to deal with that emotion. So they're dealing with it in the best way that they can manage it without guidance, which is often, not very healthy.